Chapter 378, Investigation. Lumion halted and turned his attention toward the president of the curly-haired Baboons Research Society, who was dressed in a linen robe. The nearly half-giant Gandalf didn't require mechanical contraptions or mystical techniques to project his voice throughout the ancient palace. I just had a conversation with Isotope and noticed a matter that deserves our attention. He mentioned that ever since advancing to Sequence 6, he's been encountering Beyonders more frequently and getting involved in Beyonder affairs. This aligns with my general observations over the past few years. You know, I enjoy talking to every member and asking about the additional changes brought about by superpowers. For me, I've delved deeper into the paths of the divine than most, gaining a profound understanding. Having said that, I want to share a conclusion. There are almost no exceptions. As Beyonders progress in sequence, the frequency of mystical matters involving them significantly increases. At Sequence 9, this phenomenon isn't prominent. But starting from Sequence 7 or even Sequence 6, even those who typically don't pay much attention to such matters will feel that they are constantly encountering Beyonder events. Let me illustrate with numbers. At Sequence 9, the assumed number of Beyonder incidents or encounters with other Beyonders each season is 1. This can easily slip under the radar during mysticism gatherings and small circle activities you participate in. It's challenging to pinpoint precisely. Now, at Sequence 8, it's 2. For Sequence 7, it might surge to 5 or 6. In other words, one may come across 1 or 2 Beyonder incidents or unfamiliar Beyonders once or twice a month. Do you have any thoughts or speculations about this phenomenon? Can you discern the cause? Perhaps there are fundamental laws of mysticism at play. Lumion fell into a daze. Isn't this the law of Beyonder characteristics convergence? This transmigrator, codenamed Gandalf, possessed a sharp, investigative spirit. He was astute in noticing even the smallest details and had actually uncovered the outward signs of the law of Beyonder characteristics convergence. He was also the one who had suggested that advancing to Sequence 9 and Sequence 8 in recent years would be easier than before, even allowing for the direct consumption of Beyonder characteristics. He had provided a more precise assessment of the increased risk. A research-focused talent, Lumion sighed, using Auror's usual terminology. For someone like him, with an evil god's angel sealed within and a deity-level aura shrouding him, the manifestation of the law of Beyonder characteristics convergence was so intense that it couldn't be ignored. Anyone would recognize the problem. What do you mean 1 or 2 Beyonder incidents a month? It's practically every week. Including the Beyonders he had encountered, it could be said to be a daily occurrence. However, at times, Lumion felt that the law of Beyonder characteristics convergence hadn't fully played its role. Only by attracting members of the Sinner's organization and Roche-Louise Sanson's family to Avenue du Marché and coincidentally meeting them would it qualify. Perhaps the power of a boon wasn't as potent as the convergence of Beyonder characteristics, or perhaps Termaborose's seal had mitigated the effect. In any case, his desire remained unfulfilled. As someone who had taken his sister's place at the gathering, Lumion refrained from approaching Gandalf directly and offering a substantial price for information on the law of Beyonder characteristics convergence. Casually scanning the area, he noticed Madame Hela and Hidden Blade Franca remaining silent, listening to the discussions among members of the curly-haired Baboons Research Society regarding this phenomenon. Lumion knew that Franca was familiar with the law of Beyonder characteristics convergence. With Hela's concealed knowledge from her exploration of the Samaritan women's spring, she should have observed such a phenomenon. They didn't explicitly mention the term convergence due to their different motivations. For Franca, as long as she didn't seek to ascend to godhood, immediate understanding of the law of Beyonder characteristics convergence wasn't necessary. She just needed to recognize the corresponding phenomena and avoid risks. The specific details could be sold at the gathering when she needed funds and gained Madame Judgment's approval. As various groups engaged in fervent discussions about President Gandalf's topic, Lumion made his way toward the Academy team. As Lumion continued on his path, he spotted Hidden Blade Franca approaching. "Muggle, you're finally back at the gathering. I was genuinely worried something had happened to you." Franca's expressions were slightly exaggerated, but it was well within the norm for her. In the eyes of all the members of the Curly-Haired Baboons Research Society, she was known for her rich emotions and her love for interacting and experimenting. Lumion pursed his lips and offered a smile. Something did come up, but it got sorted out. Impressive mental resilience. He didn't react strongly when the Cordu disaster was mentioned. Franca looked at Muggle's exposed lower face with curiosity and asked, "What happened?" "A mysticism catastrophe," Lumion replied, taking on a resistant demeanor. Franca knew when to change the subject and shifted the conversation with a smile. "Just a while ago, in the April Fool's group, Loki mentioned that he stumbled upon another ancient transmigrator known as the Ancient Sun God." Lumion took the initiative to bring up his conversation with April Fools. Mad Lady, Hisoka, Bard, and Ultraman are a bit skeptical. Mad Lady, Hisoka, Bard, Ultraman, Franca, and Lumion shared an unspoken understanding. She immediately grasped his intentions. Take note of the 4 April Fool's team members Lumion suspected of being problematic. Including Loki and I Know Someone, who were often discussed as potential suspects, there were now a total of 6 individuals. "Is that true? Besides Emperor Roselle, are there other ancient transmigrators?" Franca asked with genuine excitement. She wasn't faking it. She had always been interested in ancient transmigrators. Seeing the opportunity, she bid Muggle farewell and approached the area in the palace where the April Fool's team was located. Lumion returned to the Academy team and listened as Professor, Isotope, and Pettigrew discussed the mysticism experiences they had encountered. The gathering had a strict 2-hour time limit, but attendees could leave at any moment. They simply needed to recite an incantation, changing the last sentence to, "I beseech your permission to leave your kingdom," and they would return to their original location. Many members of the Curly-Haired Baboons Research Society chose to depart early after conducting their business and sharing their concerns, to prevent any accidents from occurring in the real world. However, a significant number of members opted to stay. For them, the opportunity to interact with people who shared their unique origins and not worry about accidental disclosures of their secrets was a pleasure. Even if their conversations veered into trivial topics, it still improved their emotional well-being and provided relief for their mental and psychological states. Lumion believed that his sister had found these gatherings quite relaxing. Thus, he partly attended to impersonate her and show no difference while also enjoying the atmosphere on Auror's behalf, patiently remaining until the end. Vaguely, he sensed that his emotions were becoming more sensitive and easily stirred. It was as if Auror's soul fragment had risen to the surface and was affecting his psyche. As the gathering drew to a close, Professor, wearing a shirt with a bow tie, turned her attention to Lumion and inquired, "Muggle, are you still residing in the South?" She's not referring to a specific country. Does she know that Auror is in Intis? Lumion's thoughts raced as he responded candidly, "No, I've already moved to the Trier Greater region." A smile curved on Professor's lips. "Associate Professor and I are also residing in Trier. Would you be interested in an offline gathering?" "I'm in the Trier Greater region as well," Pettigrew chimed in eagerly. Periodic Table and Isotope nodded in agreement. An offline gathering, Auror did occasionally go out for a few days in the past. Could she have attended a real-life gathering with Professor and the others? Different circles have different styles. Franca and her associates have a Telegram group, and these individuals from the Academy participate in real-life gatherings depending on the region. Lumion pondered for a moment and replied, "Another time, after I've sorted out some personal matters." He intentionally brought up certain personal matters, hoping that this information might reach the April Fool's suspects like Loki and Mad Lady. "All right," Professor and the others acknowledged. After all, Muggle had previously revealed that something had occurred to her. A Beyonder from ancient times, the ruler of the nation of the Evernight, the noble mother of heaven, I beseech your permission to leave your kingdom. With each repetition of the incantation, the figures in the ancient palace gradually faded away. When Lumion regained consciousness, he found himself back in the safe house on Rue du Rossignol. How magical, compared to this, Mr. K's mysticism gatherings are like comparing my safe house to Emperor Roselle's summer palace. They're on entirely different levels. The contrast is quite significant. Lumion sighed and returned to his original appearance. He wasn't in a rush to write to Madame Magician to report the armored shadow's response or to inquire about the ancient sun god. Instead, after changing his clothes, he headed straight to 3 Rue des Blouses Blanches and knocked on the door of apartment 601. Jenna had gone to visit her brother and wouldn't return until the next morning. Franca sat in a recliner, muttering as if cursing someone. "What's bothering you?" Lumion asked as he settled onto the divan. "That rascal Loki. I wanted to buy some information from him, but he told me others could pay with gold, but not me," Franca replied indignantly. "He said he wanted to experience the taste of a demoness. Damn it, why didn't he drink the potion and become a witch himself? After I cursed him, he claimed it was a joke and sold me the ancient information." She chuckled after recounting the encounter. Although there's a special barrier in the gathering venue that prevents us from tracing the ownership and location of the items we trade, the essence of the items can't be concealed. Regarding the copy of the information, it includes details such as the type of paper, which factory it originated from, the model of the mechanical typewriter or printing machine used to produce it, and even the approximate location. This could provide some clues. It might help us locate Loki in the real world. Of course, that's assuming he hasn't taken any anti-divination measures, misdirection, or hidden anything. As Franca spoke, she took out a mirror and prepared for magic mirror divination. After reciting the incantation, the mirror darkened, accompanied by the faint sound of water. Franca held the copy of the information she had obtained from Loki and inquired thoughtfully, "Where can we find the mechanical typewriter used to create this information?" Within the mirror, an aged voice responded, "Trier, Alone Bar."